Okay, so there's two important things we are going to be talking about with Jefferson. The whole Louisiana Purchase and Lewis and Clark. And both of those have to deal with westward expansion. Westward expansion. How we are moving into the West and how that is important and how that is critical. Because later on in American history, in a few videos, we are going to be talking about this term, manifest destiny. And westward expansion and manifest destiny is sort of connected. So it's important for you to learn the two terms now before we talk about any talk related to westward expansion. So manifest destiny is the idea that God wanted us to expand west from sea to shining sea. We started at the Atlantic Ocean with 13 colonies, and today we are all the way into the Pacific Ocean, like into it, with Hawaii, with 50 states. So westward expansion and manifest destiny. This is the first land grab that historians credit to manifest destiny, and it happened under Jefferson's reign. So let's break it down. Okay, after the miraculous campaigning of the election of 1800, Thomas Jefferson focused on reconciling the colonies and restoring the principles of the American Revolution. We have called by different names brethren of the same principles, he declared in his first inaugural address. We are all Republicans. We are all Federalists. The tall and lanky politician was in many ways the opposite of his short and rotund predecessor. So the inaugural address, for anybody who is confused by that term, is sort of the first speech the president gives. Once he gets elected president, once he gets sworn in, he gives a speech. The first speech as president. And Jefferson's speech was about uniting the country. It's usually about uniting, something with uniting. We can see that in many inaugural addresses. So, unlike Federalist leaders who supported big business, big cities, and big governments, Jefferson believed in so he supported farmers in a farmer society and strong local governments. So TJ supported farmers local government. I like how this outline said he didn't support weak. He does support weak federal governments, but instead of saying that, it said he supported strong local governments. Well, Jefferson formulated his strategy to downsize the federal government and stimulate the country's economy. Napoleon Bonaparte set in motion his plan to revive French imperialism in the New World. Spain's agreement to give Louisiana back to France jeopardizes Pinckney's treaty, which provided Americans free navigation of the Mississippi River. Jefferson feared that the power-hungry Napoleon had designs on controlling the American frontier and would forbid Americans access to New Orleans, the most important shipping port in the South. The prospect of losing rights to the Mississippi River and New Orleans endangered plans for Western expansion and threatened the American economy. In 1802, Jefferson ordered Robert Livingston, minister to France, and later James Monroe, to visit Paris to negotiate the purchase of New Orleans and Florida. Jefferson did not know if Spain had already also relinquished control of Florida excuse me, to France, but he realized that the two territories were critical for American success, both in prosperity and this idea of westward expansion. The president, a pacifist who reduced the size of the American military, aggressively warned that if France took possession of New Orleans, the United States citizens would be forced to rely on the British militaries to help them win access to the waterway. However, by 1803, the French armies had suffered a humiliating defeat during a slave revolt in Saint Domingue, present-day Haiti, and Napoleon's plans to conquer Europe demanded more men, more money, and more weaponry than anticipated. These events forced the French ruler to alter plans to expand the French Empire into America. Napoleon was no longer concerned with developing sugar plantations in the New World. He needed troops for European battles and money to support his conquest. Napoleon withdrew his soldiers from America and the surrounding islands and ordered Talleyrand an offer to offer all of Louisiana to the Americans. Livingston and Monroe were authorized to buy New Orleans and Florida for no more than $10 million, but they never dreamed they would have the opportunity to purchase more than 800,000 square miles. Since Napoleon demanded an immediate response, there was no time to send for Jefferson's approval. The man negotiated with the French representatives, and in the spring of 1803, the United States government agreed to buy all the Louisiana Territory for $15 million. This was a great deal. This was an extremely lucky deal. They doubled the size of the United States. The purchase more than doubled the size of the United States. Worth repeating, but neither party knew the exact size of the territory. I can give you no direction. You have made a noble bargain for yourself, and I suppose you will make the most of it. The deal garnered support from many Americans who were excited over the prospect of further westward expansion. Critics of the agreement, however, refused to remain silent. Many Federalists attacked Jefferson for undermining the Constitution, which did not mention the purchase of territory. Even Jefferson questioned whether the government had the power under the Constitution to add territory and grant American citizenships to the approximately 50,000 people living in the Louisiana Territory. Jefferson and Congress finally agreed to overlook the constitutional difficulties of the good sense of the country. So this loose interpretation of the Constitution, which Jefferson railed against previously, the president had compromised his belief of the strict interpretation of the Constitution. Although several prominent Federalists, including John Adams and John Marshall, favored the purchase, others in the party viewed the new land as a threat to their future. Some Federalists feared that an expanded United States would dilute their New England-based political power. They reasoned that the Louisiana inhabitants, including Indians, blacks, commoners, would be more attracted to the Republican Party values that promoted class equality and extolled the virtues of farming. So we have lots to figure out in this new territory we just purchased. That's the job of two people known as Lewis and Clark to navigate this new territory that we just got offered. And that's the topic for tomorrow's video. For the next video, I mean.